What's up, everyone out there? Dave here with Diego to follow for our newest installment of A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar. A bit lighter on the week to review, but we've got league and cup action on both sides of the ocean to look forward to, so stay right here. Well, Diego,
Hey,
the
buddy.
warm weather is here, 80 degrees almost
it.
and counting.
It's time for us to start playing soccer.
Yeah, I'm loving this weather. I mean, I went for a run today. It was a little bit surprisingly hot, but like I said, any day that it's not snowing, I'll take
It's
it.
a better
So,
day. Amen to that, my friend. Yeah, no, and you know what? That brings all these new games, all these new things happening
Yeah.
outside. You know what I mean? We are trying to get a soccer team started. So anybody back there, communicate with us. Let us know if you guys want to start engaging.
Yeah, we did some pickup last summer and fall. We are looking to expand that a little bit. So if you're local to the Newburgh and Hudson Valley area,
Absolutely.
and are looking for some old out of shape former players to not get around with, we are the place to be.
Absolutely.
All right. So quick show this week. Not a ton of big matches last week.
No,
also, we have some big cup matches coming up this weekend and then Champions League to follow. We also have our first ever regional Bino tournament later tonight.
Yes, sir.
Again, you've been hearing us talk about it for a few weeks. You've seen it on social media.
Yeah.
Numbers are looking pretty good, so we're excited to see all that, and hopefully that'll be, something to build on, with our local game shop and with Bino themselves. So, very excited for that. But let's jump right into the Premier League action. We kicked off our weekend with Brentford hosting Brighton. We kicked off. All three of these matches that we're going to talk about were on at the same exact time. So we had the split screen, we had the extra TVs going in the tap room.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was a great scene. Plenty of people there to watch. Plenty of beers to be
there. You go.
To be handed out early in the morning. So we were here for it.
I mean, that's kind of the idea of why we do this.
Yeah.
In order to be able to, gather all these people.
Right.
Regardless of the team they are, it's just good time and good beers.
Exactly. Good. And that's kind of where this podcast came from as well. It was, just a bunch of us talking soccer up in the tap room during the game.
Yep.
And, a couple of our regulars were like, hey, you know what? Well, why don't you make a show out of this? And here we are. So good, better, and different. If you hate the show, you can blame those people that gave us
there you
the
go.
idea.
Yeah. It's all on them, not on us.
But anyway, all right. So Saturday, April 19th, 10 a.m. was the kickoff. The main match we had on with the most fans was Brentford-Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
A bit unfortunate for Brighton as they continue to kind of waffle, at mid-table. 2 goals from Brian Mbeumo. Wisa scored, as did Norgard. Danny Welbeck and Mitoma, got their goals, as they do nearly every match.
Yeah.
They were obviously not helped with that Joao Pedro red card in the 61st minute.
No, but the game was kind of over by then already.
Yeah.
They're just having such a hard time on finding themselves in the last quarter of the field, or just finishing up the place.
They've had some injuries. I was just reading some stats on teams that cover the most ground in Europe.
Yeah.
Brighton is one of them. Oddly enough, so one of these stories kind of clung on to the teams that are covering the most ground, and how much they have fallen off, whether it's fatigue or injuries.
Yes.
And 3 of the top 10, I believe, were Brighton, Bournemouth, and Spurs. So 3 teams that, started well and have come on hard times. Obviously, Bournemouth, has picked up some points in the last couple of matches.
Yes.
They seem to be getting back on track, but there's always been, you go back to Bielsa ball with Leeds and all the teams that he's had over the years. Do these guys have enough in the tank? We talk about match congestion.
Yeah.
When you play these high pressing, high energy matches, do they have enough in the tank for a 9-10 month season across multiple fronts? FA Cup, League Cup, Champions League or Europa League for some of these squads.
Well, it's one of those things, especially because of, being a small, group, a small team, not a relevant team. The players don't have the experience to go through all this.
Right.
A lot of the times it happens, especially in America with college sports and the professionals, switching up basketball specifically, switching up from having 40, 50 games a year to having 72.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult thing. And especially if you're successful, then you have the playoffs.
Yep. And a lot of these guys.
So I guess,
to your point, a lot of these guys are not able to necessarily budget their energy and know when to give it all, when to, I'm not saying they should be lazy, but know when to walk, know when to jog, know when to sprint.
Well, the thing is, like you said, these teams are punching up, so they can really afford themselves to be selective on the bigger teams with more skilled players. They can rely on somebody else. Be like, all right, I'm gonna take a 5-minute breather over here. You cover this area.
Right.
Bournemouth, Brighton, the middle of the table teams don't have that luxury yet, I guess,
No, you nailed it there. These squads obviously are not nearly as deep.
Yeah.
Obviously 99.9% of the players at this level are always going to bet on themselves anyway.
Absolutely.
But they also know that with a squad as thin as it is, the drop off if they're not playing is going to be significant.
Exactly. So. Very significant. So it's kind of like the curse, you know what I mean? Now that they're here, that's the next step. Those are the things you got to work as a team for the next year. All right. We kind of fell off Renato's team.
Yeah.
We got to work on that for next year, either improving or overall, dependency on everybody, or just beat each other up throughout the entire, off time and get better physically. One of the two.
One of something's got to give with that. And it'll remain to be seen into the remainder of this year and for next year of what these squads are going to do. Because as we see with the Gold Cup, with Club World Cup expanding, with the World Cup expanding or wanting to expand, the amount of matches is not going to lessen.
No.
So we'll see how these teams react to that kind of
new environment.
The environment. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. So,
no, absolutely.
All right. Elsewhere in the Premier League, Everton hosting Man City at Goodison Park as they kind of continue with their swan song here, their last season at the stadium. 2 goals, both late from Man City. So we've talked about the resurgence of Everton under David Moyes. They tried as they might. They were not able to hold out for this scoreless draw. Nico O'Reilly in the 84th and Kovacic scored in the 92nd.
Same thing.
Yep.
Same thing we literally just talked about. Right. You can only hold on for so long before just sheer difference of levels, overwhelms you. Because I got to tell you, that game was amazing. I watched that game and they played
32% great. Possession for Everton, 3 shots on target in front of their home fans. It was certainly
inspiring.
And it was certainly a specific style going into this match that you kind of expected from Everton.
They were gonna pull back and just be like, all right, let's try to get a counterattack.
Exactly. Last but not least, Crystal Palace hosting our Bournemouth. A stoppage time first half red card from American Chris Richards.
Yeah.
But that was not enough for Bournemouth to overcome. 0 shots on target, 27% possession from Palace. And Bournemouth could not break the door down. They had chances. And it just, we've talked about this at length over the last year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
When, Bournemouth and their style, if there's one thing that Iraola, cannot manage, it seems to be when they are the better team.
Yeah,
exactly. And their opposition,
they have the ball.
When the opposition sits back,
you can't break
they can't break it down.
It is crazy to say, but there's so much of a team effort oriented, group that when somebody has to come up with an individuality to break that line, you cannot find that guy.
It's not often that we agree. And those of you in the audience and those of you that come into the tap room, know that we do get on each other's nerves a fair amount. But and that's exactly what I was going to say. A match like this, a match like Man City, against Everton, it takes that individial moment of brilliance.
Yeah.
And whether it's Evan Nielsen, whether it's Kluivert, whether it's, a dispossession and 30-yard run from Tyler Adams, something like that. It takes that moment to make the game yours.
And it seems like they haven't found a person.
It wasn't there. And, again, that is.
It's not necessarily to be there the moment.
No,
the person has to take.
That is the difference between good teams and great teams.
Yeah.
The Barcelonas of the world when Messi was there, or now with Lewandowski or Lamine Yamal there. Man City when Foden or De Bruyne goes on a tear, or Erling Haaland scores a goal that he's got no business even getting to.
Yeah.
Those types of plays are few and far between in terms of who's capable of doing that.
And if you think about it, there are several matches that have been defined by that.
Absolutely.
So another homework for next year, Bournemouth especially, find the guy. You got to or empower one person. And, coach and everybody has to be like, hey, we believe in you. Take over.
I'm just trying to think.
Who could be? I don't see anybody.
From the current squad, consistently, I don't think anyone can do it. Justin Kluivert has it in his bag on occasion. When he's healthy, Sinisterra has it in his bag on occasion. You flip to the other side of the field. Semenyo is very hot and cold, but he's capable of stuff like that.
The capability is there.
He's certainly not in that echelon of players, but even David Brooks, has that possibly in his bag.
You need an asshole teammate. You need that guy who cares only about himself.
Right.
Or you need to teach one of these guys.
Yeah.
Especially, I believe in Kluivert. Yeah. He has the potential to be that guy. To be like, all right, guys, screw all of you. Right now is my ball. Yeah. I'm going to take this. I'm going to do it. But you got to keep him healthy.
You can't count on this from every player, but he's got it genetically. He's been around the game. His father is a great player.
Yes.
So he's got that kind of mental
fortitude
and strength that hopefully you'd see from an Erling Haaland, that you see from a Messi or a Ronaldo, that are just like, I don't care.
Yeah, this is my team. I got this. Don't worry about it. I'm going to do it by myself.
I'm going to take you on my back, and here we go.
Yeah, because that is the thing. That is what I've been seeing. You know what I mean? Again, I cannot praise enough the position they're in. Being 8th place with the tournament almost over, it's a great improvement for the team. But now let's break into the top 5, top 6.
Yeah,
and they need that type of player, that type of mentality. It's not even on a specific player. You can build a player like that because they have the potential. We just named 3 or 4 that can take on that role. You just got to make them believe that is their role, and start delivering them. You know what I mean?
All right, so let's take a quick look at the table here. Liverpool needs 1 more point to officially win the title.
Yep.
Arsenal distant behind in second, 67. Man City have overtaken Forest to a respectable 3rd place on 61. Forest on 60. Newcastle on 59. Just behind them are Chelsea and Villa, although Villa have played 34 matches compared to everyone else's 33 that I always said they're competing with Forest and Newcastle and Chelsea. So Chelsea and Villa both on 57. And then a fairly large drop down to Bournemouth on 49, Fulham and Brighton both on 48, and even Brentford on 46, and Palace on 45, who's in 12th place, has a chance at a European spot.
A little bit of a chance. Yeah. Mathematically speaking, they do. But the results, Man City is going to close strong again because of who they are.
And listen, not for anything. The fact that this is even a thought in our minds now, our Arsenal obviously have been playing very well. They're moving on into the Champions League semifinals.
Yeah, we just need a little bit of faltering from Newcastle and Chelsea, right?
But for Man City's sake, with 4 matches left to play, they are 6 points behind Arsenal for 2nd place. That's not a crazy thought, especially if Arsenal. I mean, realistically, there's no difference in the league between 2nd and 3rd.
No, it's just a place. Yeah.
So if Arsenal starts resting guys because of Champions League play, they play Bournemouth. Who needs point? Let's see who else Arsenal has left in the league. So Arsenal's schedule: on Tuesday they play PSG. On the following Saturday they play Bournemouth, then PSG again, then Liverpool, then Newcastle. So
they're not playing the starters of Bournemouth or Liverpool, I don't think.
Newcastle is right there also. So,
but that's a dangerous thing for Bournemouth, man. Arsenal resting players and giving the ball to Bournemouth, it's the worst thing that can happen.
I don't think they'll ever concede possession to Bournemouth, but it certainly, opens things up for them possibly.
No, absolutely.
Right, so,
and like you said, Man City can end up second on the field.
Well, and after all was written off for Man City, again, obviously it's a huge gap from them to win the league. But for Man City to come in second potentially and win the FA Cup, that's not a bad year. After all the doom and gloom we had for 2 or 3 months.
And the crazy thing is that it was still a bad year.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the irony of the situation. We're talking about, our teams, our supporter groups here, with us being like, we're
just being happy to be top of the
table. And this guy is having a horrible year, and look at that, third on the table, chances to second.
They've been punished by their own greatness over the years. So on that note, let's take a quick break. We will be right back for a quick little look at MLS action, and we have what's on tap, as well as a couple little stories for the road. All right, we'll be right back, guys.
Cheers.
Welcome back to A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar. We have Diego here, his usual chipper self. I am here beside him as he brings up the happiness in our little podcast here.
There you go, my guy. Thank you very much.
And you know what? That's where the happiness ends, because we're gonna go cover some local MLS action.
It was tough.
Bad results on both sides of the river. So we will start with new NYCFC going to New England to play the Revolution. 2 goals just before and after halftime, and only 2 shots on target for NYCFC. Struggles continue, especially away from home. And New England with a 2-0 victory to really just kind of,
solidify what's been happening, man. It is tough.
Actually, it's funny. My daughter's phys ed teacher this morning was asking me how NYCFC is doing, and with the new manager, and it's tough out there.
Absolutely.
So many of the and this is not an NYCFC issue. This is just an issue across the league. Yet so many of these guys that come in from Europe, and they don't know the league. They don't know, how a salary cap works. They don't know how trades work. They don't know how designated players work, and TAM and GAM and all these different roster mechanisms.
Yes.
And they're so used to just saying, hey, we have a $15 million budget, let's bring in a right winger and a center back.
No, that is absolutely right. No discretion though. Real
I think
goal in mind.
And this is no surprise to those of you that have followed the league for a while. No surprise to them of the culture shock of MLS. For these foreign managers, and it continues.
This is a whole different business in a sense, and I don't know if to say that he's gonna get any better. I have the chance to watch the last 3 or 4 games of both Red Bulls and City.
Yep.
And they just can't find a way. Yeah. They are the same style of team, same frustrations right at the last, right out the box. That's where they have the biggest problem. Like we were talking about Bournemouth and Brighton not being able to finish. It's even worse with City because they get there. They can get into the box.
And they have, they have guys.
But they just don't know what to do with it.
Alonso Martinez is there.
Oh, my God.
But he's wildly inconsistent. Yeah. More often than not, he is, good with finishing. But, he will miss some sitters. He will miss some easy shots. For Red Bull's sake, I will say they do have a couple proven goal scorers.
I was talking about City now because that's the problem with City. City has amazing players. Their team actually, when they try to get around and they play together, they are good, but they just don't have any confidence. Right. Zero confidence. Like you were saying, they have maybe one person that can be a good striker, but everybody else doesn't have the confidence. It's always opting to pass the ball before shooting. They try to get rid of that ball. They don't want that responsibility right now, and it is crazy.
Mounsef Bakrar into there, and I've been on record. He works his ass off, but it's just not getting done.
No.
I think he needs to leave NYC.
It's an identity problem. It's a very deep confidence problem. They just don't seem to believe in what's happening right now with that team, and it's gonna be crazy.
All right, so let's move over to the other side of the river. Red Bulls hosted DC United in one of the original MLS rivalry matches dating back to '96. Peglo scored for DC United twice in the first half. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, who we just talked about, did score in the second half to make things 2-1 in the 57th minute. That was one of only 2 shots on target for the Red Bulls. Again, to go back to what we talked about. And a home loss for the Red Bulls, which does sting a lot, especially to DC. They dominated possession 68%, nearly double the passes.
That was the problem. Yeah. That was the problem. Again, they gave him the ball, and the Red Bull was like, okay, so now what do we do?
Right. So as it stands right now, after 9 matches played, Red Bulls sit in 9th place on 12 points, and NYCFC 10th on 11 points.
Wow.
So, it's tough out there right now. Obviously, with the MLS, most teams prefer, just because they're cheaper, to get players coming in the summer. Yeah. I've already just heard rumors. Let me actually bring up the news story of a Australian player. I can't think of his. I want to say Aidan O'Neill. Is that
O'Connell?
No.
There's an O'Neill there.
There we go. 26-year-old Australian midfielder, rumored to be coming to NYCFC from Standard League, 2.5 million euros.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens. I've heard that from multiple sources, multiple news outlets. So and the fact that it's not a DP signing, he'll just kind of fit into the roster as normal. So we could still bring in a bigger player. Yeah, I mean he's done fairly well in Belgium. Obviously, he's got that European pedigree. He's well traveled. He's from Australia, so hopefully that is a boon for the Pigeons to get into overdrive and start making a push for the playoffs.
I mean, just start making some kind of sense with themselves.
Yeah,
they might need that leadership that's coming from outside, or that new blood. Yeah, that changes the dynamic in the team, because
agree with you.
It is just it's in desperate need to happen. And again, it is an American style tournament. There is a playoff. You don't have to be the leader the entire time.
As long as you just get in.
Right now, they're actually okay. As ironic and crazy as it is.
Yeah, it's
being
at 10 early.
The difference of points is not that heavy. If you can just keep adding up points a little by little, stay at 9 and 10. You may make it, but that's not the way it should be.
No,
that is just the way it is. And
you certainly don't want to have to rely on other teams.
No. That is definitely, you don't want to. Absolutely. But what happened last year? Semifinals and finals for both of the teams. So I don't want to say keep doing that because you got to get better, but at least hang on.
I hate to say it.
At least hang on.
You might be right. I don't know. It doesn't help me all season long when I'm watching these results. Half of them in person at the stadium.
No, absolutely not, brother. I hear you. No, listen, I'm speaking from a guy that comes to the bar perspective.
Yeah,
you're the true City fan, and I know that hurts more than anything, brother.
This has been the last probably year or so. I'm noticing myself being more just kind of indifferent. Because again, there's obviously a whole host of pros and cons with the affiliation with City Football Group.
Yeah,
you have the new stadium coming, but it seems like they're not trying to build any momentum into that move.
Yeah, no, as a team.
To let's put the world on fire. Let's get the headlines. Let's run MLS.
Yeah, and then build something.
Now we have something to go into a new stadium with. So it's been a little bit disappointing from that end.
No, I agree, man.
Anyway, here we are. What's on tap? Let's move on from that. Next week we have more matches ahead. That's the best thing about what we do and not being affiliated with just a single solitary club,
there's always game.
More games, more cups, more tournaments, more championships, and more action right here in the tap room. So Saturday, April 26th, starting at 10 a.m., Brighton and Hove Albion, Seagulls on Hudson, hosting London's own West Ham United. Just after that, we have an official watch party for New York City FC. So at 2:30 p.m., they will be at Toronto FC. And for those of you that didn't see or don't have the app yet for NYCFC, you can register and accumulate points for, logging in, for attending matches.
Yeah.
You can now also pick up points for checking in
on the app,
an official supporters bar for an away match. So come to Newburgh Brewing Company,
get those points,
check in, get some points. You can redeem those points for tickets, for merch discounts, for signed merch, from a player. You can have a player record a message for you. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. So download the app, check it out.
Absolutely.
NYCFC, to their credit, is trying to build out the supporters bar
culture.
What they call the pub club program. It's certainly had some hurdles along the way and some hiccups, but we're trying our best to stay with them and
so let's get it. Let's start getting those points here at Newburgh Brewing Company.
Exactly. After that, at 4 p.m.
El Clásico.
A Clásico of Clásicos, a Copa del Rey final. Barcelona, Real Madrid, 4 p.m., April 26th.
Yes, sir.
What a match it'll be. It's always fireworks with these two, but when there's a trophy on the line, it gets jacked up even more.
You always ask me for predictions. Now I'm asking you for yours. What do you think? What's happening on this match? There's a lot of talk
I am a man of two minds on this. I don't know if you saw, Eduardo Camavinga is out for the year with an adductor injury. Not that there's much left in the year, another month or so. So,
but there is this game.
There are tons of rumors abound that will be Ancelotti's last match, and he's going to sail off into the sunset. And by sunset, I mean the Brazilian national team.
Yes, sir.
And as an Italian and a Milanista, I always have a soft spot in my heart for Carletto.
So you think...
I would love for him to go out with this trophy, but I think Barcelona is just too strong. I
was going to say,
I think I'm going to go 3-1 Barcelona.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say actually 2-1. I was going to be generous because
I think
but the sweep is real.
I think Madrid, just like we see often, the trailing team will start to push forward.
Yep.
When you got guys like Lamine Yamal just running down.
And Rafinha, I mean, those two kids are making beautiful things in that fucking field. It's amazing. Yeah, the sweep is real. Sweep is real.
So yeah, I'm going 3-1, and if you've ever listened to the show before, we're gonna be wrong. I don't think we've gotten a single prediction right. So.
No, one. And it was funny. We got the Bournemouth against Liverpool prediction.
Yeah.
We did say that we're gonna. We believed in them.
Yeah,
they did. Otherwise, we're 1 for 20. I want to say, or something horrible like that.
Which is why we're not sponsored by DraftKings or any of these betting websites.
There you go. Yes.
Speaking of Bournemouth, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Bournemouth hosting.
Can't wait.
The Manchester United. We should have a very good United crowd for that as well.
Yes.
Following that, an FA Cup semifinal, Nottingham Forest, Man City. So let's take a look. I think we briefly talked about it after the quarters. But who do you have advancing out of these FA Cup semifinals?
No.
Crystal Palace hosting Aston Villa. Actually, no. When I say hosting, let me get this right. I believe, I don't have it here in front of me, but I believe the semifinals are at Wembley. So will be a neutral site, if I'm not mistaken. I can't find it real quick, but here we go. Let's see what this. Both semifinals are at Wembley Stadium in London. So no hosting. So Nottingham Forest, although they are listed first here, they are not the host. So Forest against Man City, Crystal Palace against Aston Villa, who advances to the final?
Man City and Aston Villa.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been saying for months now, there's no way Nottingham Forest can keep this up, and
they do.
They still do. It'll certainly be a fun. That one I'm really looking forward to watching. Obviously, we have the Man City supporters group right here in the tap room, but as a neutral, what Nuno Espirito Santo is doing with Forest this year
is incredible.
Is nothing short of incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're doing a spectacular job.
And you're probably not going to find a bigger Andoni Iraola fan than I am, but Nuno has got to be manager of the year this year.
Absolutely. No, there is no doubt.
Arne Slot has done some great stuff, winning the league in his first year potentially winning the league in his first year with Liverpool.
But this is a leap.
They were 17th place last year.
This is a leap.
They were the first team above the relegation zone. And to do what they're doing, how they're doing it,
be fighting.
It really has been a revelation.
Not even fighting, having almost fully secured a European, a Champions League position. It's amazing, though. So I 100% agree with you. He deserves that.
Maybe we'll do that. Like the last week before the season ends, maybe we'll do our award picks. What do you think?
I like it. Hell yeah!
And audience,
please vote.
You guys vote too. We'll get something out on social media. We'll do some polling. I like that. We'll do some polling.
Yeah, that would be perfect for all of you guys.
We'll get the people's. So we'll do a People's Choice Award.
I like it,
man.
The bar
good.
nights.
There you go. All right. So one for the road. Do you have anything for us?
No, I like what you were saying.
So for those, this literally just happened. I think, or I should say, finalized today. NBA Hall of Famer. For those of you local, obviously he was with the Nets for
many years.
Quite some time, both as a player and a coach. They call them coaches here. Jason Kidd has joined the ownership group of Everton.
Nice.
So very interesting dynamic. He's currently the coach of the Mavericks in Dallas, and this is just another wave in the American sports moguls.
Yeah,
so speak,
that's a
soccer ownership.
That's a testament of the growth. They are seeing it as a legitimate business now. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to translate a lot into the MLS.
I do
think
too.
That's kind of like the step.
I was talking to a couple people about this story, and they were like, Everton, why? And he's got some American star power, obviously. Yeah. Everton is. They're in a weird spot right now. They're doing better under Moyes, but they've been struggling the last few years. They're moving into a new stadium. They have been completely wiped off the back page of newspapers by Liverpool and their ascendancy in the last few years. So some good publicity, some celebrity status.
Yeah. And knowledge of sports in America. Yeah. That's another thing. Or knowledge of sports in general as a business.
Right.
You're a player, especially here in America, you're way more involved because there is unions and there is all these different things that you have to be aware. He was part of the players' unions in the NBA. So he might have a different insight when it comes to player management and team management. That, you know what I mean? There'll be a fresh set of eyes for that.
You have LeBron James as a part owner with Fenway Sports Group in Liverpool.
Yep.
You have Steve Nash is a part owner for definitely in Vancouver.
And he was the beginning. He was the starter of all these, the trailblazer.
I'm trying to think now. Kevin Durant is a part owner in, is it either Philly? I want to say Philadelphia Union. Carmelo Anthony, I don't know if he still owns, but was an owner in a USL club. So you have, I think James Harden is a part owner in Houston.
Yep.
So you have.
Oh no, you have plenty of
this
people.
NBA, and especially with the globalization of basketball and the influx of foreign players into the NBA.
Yep.
You have Giannis, you have Luka Doncic, you have the Gasol's brothers, you had Dirk, you had all these global megastars.
Absolutely, they influence these American players and they give them ideas. I mean, this is all because of Nash. Since you mentioned them, you know what I mean as well. He started this whole NBA getting involved with soccer situation, sure. But nonetheless, it's going to be great for the future. I'm happy for them. I also want to say it could be also the Ryan Reynolds effect.
Oh no, certainly. You have Ryan Reynolds. You have Tom Brady as a part owner. You have all these. You have Edge. Obviously, he's British, but you have Ed Sheeran as part owner.
But we have a couple of years, I want to say, 5 to 10 years, the level of soccer, at least the business acumen of soccer teams here in America is going to increase so much.
I'm going to one up you on that. I think, and probably another good reason for Jason Kidd jumping in at this time.
Yeah.
You have the World Cup here next year. So, absolutely. I think everyone is just kind of putting their eggs in the soccer basket.
For now,
no Easter pun intended. But, there's a lot of good potential for American soccer and Americans in soccer.
Yep, absolutely.
To make something happen with the World Cup coming.
That's really so exciting.
Continued globalization of this game. So congratulations to Jason Kidd and Everton.
Absolutely.
And no, it should be a cool thing to see more, because for us now it's potentially more eyes upstairs on soccer games.
Absolutely.
And, maybe there's an Everton supporters club now that wants to start because there's a bunch of Brooklyn Net fans that
absolutely
idolize Jason Kidd, and now they're aware.
You're totally right, brother.
It's no different than, slightly different, but not drastically different from our relationship with Bournemouth. One weird local 100%. Connection, and boom, here we are. So,
that is absolutely true. Who knows? Right. Maybe we are the next Everton supporters.
There you go.
Supporters club.
Listen, you're an Everton fan, you're local, you want to watch games here in the tap room, reach out to us. We'll make it happen.
Or you're a Jason Kidd fan and like this news. Come and find us anyways.
All right. So either way, that's going to do it for us this week. Give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky. Throw us an email. Jump in our Discord. We've been activating that a lot more often lately. Did I miss anything?
If there is a like button, hit it. If there is a subscribe button, hit it.
Share with your friends.
And share it with everybody you can.
We appreciate everything you do. Enjoy this beautiful weather we're having this week. And we'll catch you in the tap room or next week right on the show.
Thanks, guys.